Good morning and welcome to the July 18, 2019 business meeting. And I'd like the county administrator to please take the roll.
Yes, Commissioners, first staff support today, Scott Seco, County Counsel, Mary Rathke, Clerk to the Board. Roll call, Commissioner Humberston.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher.
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Here.
Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Here.
Chair Bernard.
Here, please join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, I'd like to announce that the board will recess. Thanks for coming. As the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Housing Authority Board for the next item. And with that, I'd like to introduce our Housing Authority Commissioner, Paul Reynolds. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Gary, what's up?
Oh, so we have consent agenda, and I'll ask Mary to read that.
Okay, to the Housing Authority consent agenda. In the matter of approving designation of the Budget Authority for fiscal year 2019-2020 and approval to execute a contract between the Housing Authority of Clackamas County and Greater Purpose Construction to replace roofing on 24 public housing properties.
Do any commissioners want to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the Housing Authority consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve the Housing Authority consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Reynolds, for your time.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll announce that the board will adjourn as the Housing Authority Board and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners for the remainder of the meeting. And with that, what's up?
Next, we have a presentation about the National Association of Counties, or NACO, 2019 Achievement Awards. We have Ed Nieto from Public and Government Affairs, who will present.
Thank you, Administrator Schmidt. Good morning, Commissioners. The National Association of Counties' vision is to help produce healthy, safe, and vibrant counties across the country. NATO provides a forum for the country's more than 3,000 county governments to collaborate on ways to better serve our residents. Each year, NACO recognizes counties for innovative programs that modernize county government and improve service to county residents. This year, Clackamas County received 4 NACO Achievement Awards for the second consecutive year. Programs are judged on innovation, creativity, effectiveness, measurable results, and enhanced levels of citizen participation in or the understanding of government programs. This morning, we have representatives from the 4 honored programs who graciously accepted my invitation to provide a brief overview of these projects. After the presentations, we'd like to request a group photo, if that's all right. To begin, I would like to invite Mary Rumbaugh from Health, Housing, and Human Services to talk about the Senior Loneliness Line Program. Nominated in the category of health, this program received the high honor of Best in Category due to, in the NACO judges' words, its exceptional results and unique innovations. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. I'm very honored to be here, Commissioners, Chair. So as you know, the Behavioral Health, Housing, and Human Services Behavioral Health Division did receive this Achievement Award for our Senior Loneliness Line, and this is in partnership, a wonderful partnership with the Lines for Life. And we launched the Senior Loneliness Line in early 2018 with a very simple concept, which was to combat isolation and loneliness for our seniors. And that really was an outcome then of a phone line with trained volunteers, the majority of them also older adults themselves. And the idea was that when somebody called 24/7, that they would have a friendly person to speak to. They would have a trained volunteer who would listen to them, would provide them resources, would help them maybe with grief counseling or concerns about elder abuse, things like that. And part of the reason we won the Best in Category was because of our very early successful results. Since May of 2018, we've actually received over 3,300 calls, June being our highest volume of 395 calls. 48% of our callers are first-time callers. 52% of our callers call more than once, which is what we want. And 51% of our callers are in the demographic age range of 65 to 74, which is exactly who we are really wanting to target. And I would be remiss if I didn't honor some partners in this. I want to honor and show appreciation for Lines for Life, in particular Bill Fitzpatrick, who is our lead contact for our senior loneliness line, as well as Greg Borders. My system coordination manager, Elise Thompson, who really shepherded this project through in early 2018 when we actually had a vacancy in a position, and she made sure that this came to fruition. And our current older adult behavioral health coordinator, Kim Jackson Whitley, who continues to nurture this really successful program. So we're really honored to receive the award and just really bring recognition nationally to the senior loneliness line and the great work that we're doing here in Clackamas County. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there an actual physical award?
Yes, we'll have that after.
There is.
Thank you, Mary. Up next, we have Vahid Brown, also from Health, Housing, and Human Services, who is deeply involved in the success of Veterans Village, a transitional shelter community for veterans, which was honored in the category of Human Services.
Thank you. Good morning. You, Commissioners, you all are quite familiar with the Veterans Village, so I'll be brief, but proud to accept this honor from the National Association of Counties for an innovative project that brought the departments across the county together in a unique way. This is the first fully permitted, fully code-compliant tiny house community for people experiencing homelessness in the United States, as far as I'm aware. We are working with our partner Do Good Multnomah to address the housing needs of veterans in the county experiencing homelessness, and because of this project, I think specifically amongst the populations that we track who are experiencing homelessness every other year in our point-in-time count, veterans that number has gone down since 2017. So while the 2017 to 2019 point-in-time count did see increases across other populations, we saw a slight increase overall and significant increases in some subpopulations. Veterans experiencing homelessness, that number went down by 15% between 2017 and 2019, which I think is a good indication that we're succeeding in addressing that need. I can tell you, as of today, 6 veterans have transitioned from the village into permanent housing, and in the first week of August, 2 additional veterans will move into housing, so we will have 8 at that time. So it's continuing to be a success. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Vahid. Now I'd like to introduce Shelley Perini of Water Environment Services to discuss the award received in the category of Civic Education and Public Information. Water Environment Services is Water Environment Services serving a growing population, solids handling capacity improvement project.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's hard to believe that just a few short years ago, WES and the communities it serves were at a crossroads as it related to making critical wastewater infrastructure investments. Without additional capacity, WES's ability to continue to protect public health and the environment would have been jeopardized, along with its ability to create a resilient future for economic growth. To move forward with its plan to construct additional capacity at its largest treatment facility, WES wisely turned to the community. This was no easy task, as only 14% of its own customers could even correctly identify WES as their service provider. This posed a substantial challenge to raising awareness of the capacity issue and gaining support for the project. Well, lucky for us, WES leadership and PGA worked diligently to educate ratepayers, stakeholders, partners, local elected officials, developers, the local business community about the urgent need to expand through a carefully constructed civic education and public information campaign focused on raising awareness about WES, the need for the project, and the cost-effective solution. The multi-year educational campaign included dozens of presentations, media stories, advertorials, videos, social media, special websites, and more. And in the final months, WES facilitated a series of business roundtables that provided opportunities for two-way conversations on the proposed solids handling project. Through these exchanges, a new sense of understanding and urgency began to emerge. Wes learned that for many of these companies, Clackamas is both a place to run a business as well as a place to call home and raise a family. Wes learned that there are three major ingredients businesses needed in order to keep growing in Clackamas County: a supportive business climate, a good workforce, and a strong infrastructure system. The business community made it clear that they were not going to invest in land and future development if the solids handling issue was not resolved. They reinforced that no one can afford to invest in a future that faces hurdles created by moratoriums. The business community testified that the ratepayers would win under a strong regional partnership that focused on collaboration and co-investment. And in 2016, thank you, the Board of County Commissioners responded by unanimously approving the Solids Handling Capacity Improvement Project. In addition to garnering support for the project, which broke ground in the fall of 2018, with many of these business leaders and stakeholders in attendance, the public involvement and educational campaign substantially increased customer and stakeholder awareness. It also shined a light on the hard work that the good people over at Water Environment Services do each and every day to keep our public safe, our rivers clean, and our watersheds healthy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Our final presenter is Juan Moringa, also from Water Environment Services, to share information about Water Environment Services Carly Creek Water Quality Project, which was honored in the category of County Resiliency, Infrastructure, Energy, and Sustainability. I also have some breaking news about Carly Creek Project. I just received word about an hour ago that the Carly Creek Project has also been honored with an Innovative Stormwater Award from the Pacific Northwest Clean Water Association.
Great. Thank you, Ed. And good morning, Commissioners. My name is Ron Waringa. I'm with Water Environment Services, and I appreciate the time today to talk to you about this project and our award. The Carly Creek Project, and many of you have been there, is a stormwater treatment wetland that we built out in the Clackamas industrial area. It handles runoff from almost 400 acres of intensely developed land, and the project itself is imperative to improving and protecting the water quality not only in Carly Creek but in the Clackamas River that approximately 400,000 people in our community drink, as well as imperative to protecting the critical habitat in Carly Creek that many species of imperiled salmon and steelhead call home. Construction for the project started in 2017. We finished it in 2018, and it started treating runoff last winter and has been running very well since then. The project was made possible by your generous support over the years, as well as our very talented and dedicated staff in Water Environment Services, Leah Johansson, Gail Shalom, and Pat Buckland in particular, who really brought the project to life. It was also made possible by funding from, in part, Portland General Electric for their Clackamas Fund for the habitat portions, and then was funded with surface water fees paid by property owners in West's service districts. We're honored to receive this award. We're honored to have been able to do this project, and also that National Association of Counties recognizes how unique and important this project is. So thank you to them, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you. One of the questions we had the other day when we were at a grand opening of one of the new buildings is public access. Will there be public access at some point in the future?
Yeah, Chair Bernard, currently there's no way to access the river, access the site except from the river. There's no way through the private properties that surround it. We have talked to North Clackamas Parks about some long-term plans for potential trail corridor projects, and then eventually, as other properties develop around the site, we'll be able to talk about access, but currently it's not accessible to the public.
All right, thank you. That's what we were told. All right, with that, that's the last word. Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to kindly request a photo, group photo with you, if that's okay. Great.
All right, ready? Let's go.
Everybody, because it looks like it's just the speakers.
Yeah,
Y'all can just gather, right?
You guys earned it. You should hold it.
Okay. All right.
just a little bit so that you're a little bit more in the light. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. All right. Now let's get a shot of all the staff.
And everybody who's involved with those awards, for the photo. Staff,
Everybody, all staff in these departments, please come forward.
no hesitation.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. All right, give me 1 second. Everybody smile. Thank you.
All right, with that, we're on to public comment. Where's my agenda here? And James D. Young, and I was told to Yazo, use my hand, Yazo Lino. Go ahead, come on up.
Yeah, we call 2 at a time. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Young, you're up first.
I am? Okay, I'm here in support of the Clackamas County History Hub, run the last 2 years by Jennifer Burns, and she has worked miracles with our group, and I totally believe that the heritage and tourism are intertwined, as heritage is an asset and tourism benefits with the economic impact of our visitors. And I've had experience working with the Clackamas County Heritage Council for years, and it was always a challenge to get all of our sites with all of our different needs to find ways to actually get the work done. We all wanted to, but Jennifer has worked very hard, and now we're kind of ready to go. And so now it's coming up with funding. From my personal point of view and perspective, as a Mount Hood Territory Tourism Welcome Center, supported by TDC, and I've worked closely with Danielle Cohen and Jim Austin, and the support they have and our other partners at the end of the Oregon Trail Interpretive Center is that we have a lot of partners with a lot of commitments and collaboration within the partnerships, like Oregon City, and now they're taking on the commitment of adding on a tourism assistant, and these efforts, they just seem to be so entwined, because our assets need to be open. The more we have, it was always frustrating to me not to be able to help all of the other sites be open the hours. We worked on our business model, and what we do is we are open all year, and we've developed programs to bring in more visitors and find ways, and then our job being the Welcome Center is to send them on to Oregon City, Clackamas County, the state of Oregon. We extended on to the Oregon Trail, so all the states along the trail. And then, of course, we're working on sister museums from the immigrants, and that is England, Germany, Canada, wherever we can connect and bring visitors in. But we need our other sites to be visitor ready as well and thrive. And so I feel like the county government provides the leadership, sustainability, and credibility. And so I'm hoping, I feel like if we have a good program that's working, the money will come.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for funding it.
Mr. Young?
Good morning, Chair Bernard and Commissioners of Clackamas County. I'm James D. Young. This is my third appearance before this commission this month. I'm coming back to remind you of the rebirth of the city of Damascus, of which I am the duly appointed mayor, according to the city charter of Damascus. Again, I wish to remind you that the current law of the state of Oregon is the appellate court decision in DeYoung versus Brown, rendered on May the 1st, 2019. The sum of this decision is to reverse and remand the circuit court's decision not to give me, the plaintiff, summary judgment that would have declared the disincorporation vote of May 17 of 2016 a nullity. The court found that the vote on referendum 93 failed to meet three standards of statutory law, and with the words that the court used, namely that the people of Damascus could resume their home rule constitutional right to self-governance, the appellate court was implicitly acknowledging that the vote of 2016 also violated the Oregon Constitution. In its decision, the appellate court declared three times that the plaintiff is entitled to prevail as a matter of law. That's their words. Note the word law that occurred three times. I understand that these words from the appellate court mean that their decision is the law of the state, since none of the defendants appealed the case to the Supreme Court. The law is that Damascus never disincorporated. It continues to exist. It did not surrender its charter, both in fact and in theory. But it is an amazing thing that people in government, such as the state legislators and Clackamas County commissioners, can ignore the law and pretend that the vote in May 2016 was legitimate. But when people ignore the law, such as speed limits on the highways, or violate the law, such as committing acts of theft, murder, and mayhem, people are held accountable. There is a price to pay. It may be monetary, incarceration, or some other form of punishment. But when government people in high places break the law, they often get away with it, or so they think. Eventually, an attitude of being above the law breeds general contempt for the law in the general populace, and ultimately anarchy and rebellion break out. The rationale is, well, if the governor can violate the law, why can't I? This county may blame the state legislature for the vote of 2016 and its fallout. This county may blame the state for taking $8.1 million from Damascus, along with its property, several vehicles, a backhoe, office equipment, and all our legal documents, both hard copies and digital. And I've asked the attorney, Stephen Madcour, more than once for a return of these documents, but he has refused. But Clackamas County is also liable. It could have refused to participate in this process, or it could have put everything in escrow until my lawsuit, known to all, was settled. It didn't have to join sides with the legislature in its letter of June to the legislature. Right now, the state legislature, by House Bill 2001, is overruling cities and counties by decreeing that single-family zoning cannot be tolerated. The governor and legislature want Oregon to be the first state in the nation to so decree. Is this commission going to yield to this form of tyranny? You should enlist all the cities of this county to join you in support, and you should turn from your own tyranny toward Damascus. Damascus wants to be reconciled. That's our key word. The time for an equitable solution, for example, by my 5-point plan, is now, if the county will stop breaking the law, as the appellate court had determined it for Damascus. The county really needs all the cities, including Damascus, as an ally and not as an enemy. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris? I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Chris Pervetti. I'm a director at Northwest Bible Training Center. We are a division of Mission Teens, and we are located at 23172 South Bloom Road in Beaver Creek. We are on a flag lot, and it provides a unique setting and privacy from our neighbors. I brought the photos in to show you how far back we are set. Right now we are experiencing some code compliance issues, but that's absolutely not why I'm here. I wanted to introduce ourselves so that when you do see our name come across your desk, you'll know what we're about. Mission Teens first opened in 1969 in New Jersey, and it's not a new concept. It's something it's a proven curriculum with a really high success rate, and we've been doing this for 50 years. We're not an overnight shelter, we're not an emergency shelter, we're an 8 to 10 month faith-based curriculum. We directly respond to the emergency of homelessness in the county, but not limited to that. It's absolutely anyone who's seeking freedom from destructive patterns or addictive lifestyles. We were located in Portland, serving Multnomah County since 1994, but now we partner with the Clackamas County Probation Department and the local organizations such as My Father's Heart and other shelters in the area. People who don't want to go in and out of the revolving door of the shelter, but want to take a long-term commitment to try and make their life better. Our program is voluntary. We're completely free of charge. We rely solely on donations from local churches, former graduates, and anyone else who has a heart for what we're doing there. But my main goal is to say that we want to be a resource for you. I know there is a real need, and I'm looking forward to working out with the appropriate departments so that we can get everything settled. But the curriculum's been around a long time. We have people from all walks of life there. But really it's just sons and daughters and husbands and wives who want a different, better life. And I know that probably leaves a lot of questions about what our curriculum is about, so if you'd like to talk to me about that afterwards, after this meeting, feel free to contact me. I can give you a little bit more details. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
The next item on the agenda is 3 public hearings.
Yes, Commissioners, your first public hearing is a board order for boundary change proposal CL 18-012, annexation to Clackamas County Service District Number 1. Ken Martin, boundary change consultant, will present.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is another annexation to CCSD Number 1. It's inside the city of Happy Valley. It's a proposed 7-lot subdivision. The district has services available. We'd recommend approval.
Any questions? This is a very common thing that we do. So with that, I'll open up public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify on this matter.
Yeah.
Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the board order for boundary change proposal CL 18-012, annexation to Clackamas County Service District Number 1.
Second. Been moved and second that we approve the board order for boundary change proposal CL 18-012, annexation to Clackamas County Service District Number 1. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next one.
Next public hearing, a board order for boundary change proposal CL 19-003, annexation to Tri-City Service District. Ken will also present.
As you remember, Tri-City serves the 3 cities with sewer treatment rather than just the local sewers, which is still controlled by the 3 cities. In this case, West Lynn. The property was recently annexed into the city and now needs to be annexed into the district legally. It's a small piece of property, 3.75 acres. There are no immediate development plans, but it will eventually develop with residential housing.
Okay. With that, I'll open a public hearing and ask if anyone would like to testify on this matter. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the board order for boundary change proposal CL 19-003, annexation to Tri-City Service District.
Second. Been moved and second that we approve board order for boundary change proposal CL 19-003, annexation to Tri-City Service District. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next.
Final public hearing is a first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 8, Business Regulation, Section 8.07, Alarm Systems of the Clackamas County Code. Nancy Artman from the Sheriff's Office and others will be presenting, so please come forward.
Welcome.
Welcome. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners and Administrator Schmidt. Thank you for having me today. My name is Julie Rush. I'm the Alarm Ordinance Coordinator with the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. The purpose of the alarm ordinance is to reduce the number of false alarms from private alarm systems by requiring alarm users and alarm businesses to assume increased responsibility for maintaining the mechanical reliability and the proper use of their alarm systems. Today I will provide a brief overview of the purpose of the alarm ordinance, why this revision was necessary, and the resources utilized in the development of the revised ordinance. Following this introduction and overview, I'd be happy to address any questions you might have. Having a monitored alarm system is a personal choice and is generally a contracted agreement between an alarm business and its customers. It is the only for-profit private sector industry which bases its business model on responses by taxpayer-supported services. Those who don't have alarm systems derive no benefit from a deputy responding to a false alarm, but actually lose access to public safety resources they would have had available if a deputy had not been diverted to respond to a false alarm. If a deputy finds either a crime in progress or evidence that a crime was attempted, a security alarm did exactly as it was supposed to do. Responding to real crimes serves the interest of everyone in Clackamas County and is part of basic Sheriff's Office services taxes provide. The proposed revision of the Clackamas County Alarm Ordinance was needed to account for the following: enforcement limitations of the existing alarm ordinance, noncompliance of alarm users, failure of some alarm businesses to voluntarily adopt best practices to assist with false alarm reduction, new security system components and monitoring technology, and the increased use and availability of self-installed security systems and systems alarm users are monitoring themselves. A lot of time, effort, and research has gone into the alarm ordinance revision. Ordinances in and out of the metro area and out of state were studied and reviewed. Enforceability of these programs' success to reduce false alarms and gain compliance were examined. Many professional associations were researched during the development of the revision, with a large portion of the new content being pulled from model ordinances as outlined by the False Alarm Reduction Association, the Security Industry Alarm Coalition, the National Electronic Security Alliance, and the National Burglar and Fire Alarm Association. Best practices published by the International Association of Chiefs of Police, State Association of Chiefs of Police, and the National Sheriff's Association were also evaluated and considered. Based on this research, new additions to the ordinance include duties of the alarm user, duties of alarm installation and monitoring companies, registration of alarm companies, monitoring services duties, fining alarm companies, reinstatement, no duty to respond, severability, collections, and alarm user awareness class. The existing sections that have been expanded include the purpose and scope of the ordinance. We've increased our definitions, registration requirements, false alarm fines, suspension of response, and appeals. In Clackamas County, the City of Canby and Molalla have all recently completed alarm ordinance rewrites. The City of Portland has also adopted a new ordinance. The proposed ordinance revision before you today is very much in line with neighboring and local jurisdictions and encompasses best enforcement practices and industry standards. Ultimately, the end goal is not to be punitive, but to gain compliance and to decrease or eliminate false alarm calls. This enables deputies to respond to actual crimes and emergencies when they arise and protects the emergency response capabilities of Clackamas County from misuse. Thank you for your time and consideration. I would request that the Board of County Commissioners approve moving forward with the second reading of the proposed alarm ordinance. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Ken?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I should have probably called your offices and asked for this information because you may not have it at this point in time, but do you have any idea how many false alarms you've had over the last year?
Over the last year, I have stats for 2018 and the first 6 months of 2019. So in 2018, just in unincorporated Clackamas County, deputies responded to 3,235 calls. And then as far as 2019, the first 6 months, we had total alarm incidents of 2,674. That's just for the first 6 months. Our deputies responded to 1,082 of those calls. The average amount of time spent on those calls is about 6.98 minutes.
So
Approximately.
That's good. Of those total calls in 2018, do you know how many of those were false alarms?
Well, we only had, I guess, of those, I did some research on that, and we only had about a total of 9 that were labeled as good, burg, or attempted. And so that is basically 0.278% of the total that we received. And
Are
a 99,
actually valid?
Yeah.
Correct. Of over 3,235 calls.
So you're saying that over 99%
Correct.
were false alarms?
99.72%, correct.
Okay, and do you have a sense of the cost of that?
I do have numbers for that, and I can provide those to you. I just don't have them at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
I asked the questions because I want the public to understand we don't like to pass more rules and regulations all the time, but this demonstrates a very good reason why it was necessary, and hopefully we will gain the compliance. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I would imagine that you said 6 to 8 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
How much, if you calculate that.
Times 3,000.
Times 3,000, it's substantial. All right, thank you. With that, I'll open a public hearing, ask if anyone would like to speak on this matter. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I move we read the ordinance by title only.
Second.
Moved and second that we read the ordinance by title only. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries, and I'll ask the clerk to assign a number and read the ordinance by title only.
Okay, this is going to be ordinance number 06-2019, an ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 8.07, Alarm Permit Ordinance of the Clackamas County Code.
So didn't you say this was the second reading already?
This is the first reading.
It's the first, okay. All right.
Thank you.
With that, I guess I should ask if do any commissioners have any proposed changes or amendments to, at this time. Seeing none, I'll announce that the second reading will be Thursday, August 8th, 2019, at our regular 10 a.m. business meeting. All right, thanks. And Gary, what's next?
The consent agenda, Commissioners.
All right, ask the clerk to read the consent agenda by title.
Okay, today's consent agenda. Under Health, Housing, and Human Services, approval of Amendment Number 1 to the Intergovernmental Agreement, HD 1CA ICAE 6902018, with Multnomah County for the HIV Early Intervention and Outreach Project. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Lake Oswego for providing medical direction for the Lake Oswego Fire Department and Communication Center. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Housing Authority of Clackamas County and County Community Development Division for the Arbor Terrace Apartment Roofing Project. And approval of an intergovernmental agreement, revenue agreement, Amendment Number 1 with the Oregon Health Authority for drug and alcohol prevention, education, and programming. Approval of a revenue contract for professional services with Oregon State University for evidence-based parenting education classes. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement number 160440 with the State of Oregon Department of Human Services Aging and People with Disabilities Division for the provision of services to Clackamas County residents. Approval of agreement with Oregon Department of Transportation, Rail and Public Transit Division for the FTA 5311 Rural Transportation Fund for operations of the Mount Hood Express. Approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Sandy for operations for the Mount Hood Express bus service. Under the Department of Transportation and Development, approval of a contract with DKS Associates to provide all road transportation safety programs. Under elected officials, approval of previous business meeting minutes, and approval of an ORMAP intergovernmental agreement contract number DOR 19019 between Clackamas County Assessor's Office and the Oregon Department of Revenue for the administration of the ad valorem property tax system. Under County Council, approval of a memorandum of understanding with Mount Hood Search and Rescue Council for equipment storage. Under Business and Community Services, approval of an intergovernmental agreement amendment with the City of Gladstone to provide library director services. And approval of boating facility grant intergovernmental agreement number 1634 for resurface parking, replace curbing and sidewalks, and restriping parking areas at Carver Park. And under North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas Community College for education and enrichment services, and approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas Community College for base instructional programs. That concludes today's consent agenda.
Thank you, Mary. Any commissioners want to remove or pull an item from the consent agenda? That, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Moved and second that we approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have 3 issues I'd like to
Sure.
comment on. There's an approval of contract with DKS Associates, Inc. to provide all roads transportation safety program. And it says the funding source is the following: 21574340210348118022271. I have no idea what that funding source is.
That's the serial code on my wallet.
I would appreciate it if staff would actually put the funding source in plain English and whether or not it's from general funds like is done on most of them, because that number tells us nothing, and I appreciate that.
Apologize, Commissioner. We will do that.
It's okay.
In the future.
Just bringing it to your attention. Thank you. A reminder that the $36,000 annually for 5 consecutive years to SAR, our search and rescue group, its purpose is to help them find a home. This is not a lifetime commitment. This is a 5-year commitment, and I want to emphasize that that's its purpose. I did happen to see one of the gentlemen from SAR the other day. He was very happy about this, and I suggested that he take a look at maybe even partnering with our radio operator folks, because they may need a home also, and it could be synergistic. So, but I just wanted that to be on the record as to what the purpose of the money was. And then approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas County Community College for educational and enrichment sources. It says fiscal year 1920 budgeted funds for older adult and recreation programming services. Is that North Clackamas County Parks and Recreation District funds, or is that general funds?
NCPRD has no general funds. These are all their funds.
My question.
Yeah.
Just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next is the County Administrator update.
Yes, Commissioners, today I just want to share with you a simple story about compassion and innovation here with our employees at Clackamas County. Recently, a man living in an adult foster home passed away, and neither the foster home nor the man's only single surviving relative, his 92-year-old mother, had the resources to take care of the man's remains. So the hospital where the man's body had gone was going to dispose of the body and not have any sort of service or give any sort of the remains back to the man's remaining relative, his mother. So the hospital contacted our behavioral health department. The foster home contacted our behavioral health department, who in turn contacted our medical examiner's crew in our disaster management department. And the innovation of our medical examiner, Kathy Phelps, and her staff member, Chris Wright, decided that they would take action. So they made an exception to our existing county policy and using their very limited funds, the medical examiner's office here at Clackamas County paid for cremation of this man's body and returned the remains to the mother. So I want to thank our staff for being creative, innovative, making a quick decision that made a huge impact to this family. And our staff at Behavioral Health wanted to recognize these two employees, Kathy and Chris, and said, I can't tell you how much it meant to the foster home that Clackamas County stepped up to help out in a situation where the family felt lost. I was so grateful for Kathy and Chris's support, responsiveness, compassion, and willingness to jump in and take care of this situation. They profoundly impacted the experience of this man and his family and their grief. So I want to thank Kathy and Chris in our medical examiner's office for their innovation and compassion, and that's what I'm so proud of our employees here at Clackamas County. Everyone, I feel, does that in their service to the public. So I just want to share that story with you today.
Thank you. Well, next, first up is Martha.
Well, as usual, I try and be brief, but, you know, give folks a microphone and you know what happens. In any case, this was a very busy week. I know my fellow colleagues, Commissioner Savas and Commissioner Fisher, will also have some reports for you, but we were at the National Association of Counties conference, and just kind of a quick, hopefully people will take this as a good civics lesson. There are over 3,000 counties in the United States of America, and we are, I always like to call us kind of the hidden hand of government in a sense, because we have such a great impact on local policies, on local people, with the services we deliver. And I can truly say that the commissioners that, not only that I meet at the conference, but also my colleagues who I work with, are so service-driven, really for the good of their constituents. And basically the theme of the National Association is Stronger Counties, Stronger America. So what do? We advocate for county government priorities and federal policy making. Believe it or not, we have a real significant role in talking to our legislative delegations across the country. Most of the kinds of policies that are made at the federal level and even at the state level really affect us directly, because in the end, we are the boots on the ground and the service delivery providers. As you saw today, they showcase exemplary county policies and practices. And I was so proud of the fact that our county this year walked away with 4 national awards. It's important because when we have programs that are successful and when we have opportunities to share them with our colleagues across the United States, we are bettering ourselves, I believe, in a way that is extremely substantial and important. It also nurtures leadership skills and expands knowledge networks. And I know that hopefully Paul and Sonia will expand on that a little bit. I myself had the opportunity to go to NYU at the County Leadership Institute back in the day. And the lessons I learned at that meeting with another bunch of commissioners, there was over 20 of us, and what I learned still informs how I behave today, how I try to govern with diligence and integrity, and also gives me a group of folks, if I have other questions, I can give them a call and ask them questions. It also helps us optimize county and taxpayer resources. And what I'm trying to do today is one of the main focus is enrich our public's understanding of what counties do, what we are, and how we are important to our folks across the nation. The mission is to strengthen America's counties, and our vision is to have healthy, vibrant counties across our country. I had the honor this time of getting 2 appointments. Actually, I am now the Vice Chair of the Community and Economic Development and Workforce Committee. I am also Vice Chair of the International Economic Development Task Force. I remember on the board, a lot of my time at this meeting was basically attending the governance kinds of things that we do at that level to make sure all our counties stay informed. I also had an opportunity, I'm an ambassador. What does that mean? That means I'm one of the first points, get to be, the privilege to be, one of the first points of contacts for new commissioners who are newly elected, who have to navigate about where do they want to land in the National Association of Counties, and I get a chance to help with that too. So with that, it was a fantastic conference, I believe. It's very important for commissioners to continue to have that kind of contact with one another, with continuing education. Every time we bring something significant back to all of our counties, because we have these coalitions and we have these friendships that we built nationally. So with that, let me go to the word of the week real quick is benevolent. It is an adjective marked by a tendency to do well towards others, kindly. A benevolent act is one in service to another. The word is derived from the Latin for good wishes. Do you know the first known use of benevolent was in the 15th century? And the only word that rhymes with benevolent is malevolent, which means having or showing a wish to do evil to others. I know for a fact that all of us here are benevolent people. Thank you. Oh, arts and culture? I'll give that to Commissioner Savas when the time comes.
Thank you.
All right.
And next, Ken, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This week, I had the privilege of attending the NCPRD barbecue for senior citizens out there in Milwaukee, and I can tell you it was not only very well done, it was very well received. The place was packed, and our senior citizens predominantly had a wonderful time at the barbecue. Attended the Fair Board meeting. They are now completely immersed in the fair and planning for the fair, but they are continuing to work on their master plan, and in the long run look forward to being able to raise that building that they have been wanting to raise for the last 5 years. I think we're going to get there. It's just going to take a little more time to make sure that the finances work. Guanyun County, our sister county, visited, and Commissioner Bernard and I had the privilege of having lunch with them. They have definitely indicated interest in making an investment here in Clackamas County, possibly in a CLT plant. That remains to be seen, but they certainly didn't say no. They did seem very, very interested. I want to congratulate PGA for their work this last year at the state legislature. We had a 71% success rate at the legislature on those issues that we took a position on. That's a pretty darn good record, so I want to congratulate them on their hard work. Chris in particular, he does a very, very good job on our behalf. And I wanted to say thank you to this board and to you and to our budget committee. For a number of years, we've talked about the idea of having an international outreach employee out of EDC, the Economic Development Department. And we did this year fund a half-time employee for that purpose, which I think will help us formalize our international outreach, recognizing that we do business as a state of Oregon and as a county with many countries. And maintaining those relationships is important. Just mentioning China alone, we do $6.8 billion worth of trade with China, and Oregon has a $2 billion surplus. That's important to our economy. It's 30,000. That alone is about 30,000 jobs that are indirectly or directly affected by international trade, and it behooves us to make sure that we maintain those relationships and continue our outreach, hopefully attract more businesses to our county and more opportunities for our businesses in our county. And on that note, I will go to the dogs. This is Sam. He's a smart fella with an adorable bow tie, looking for a new place to lay his head. He is a little shy at first, but once he gets to know you, he's super excited and can't wait to spend extra time with you. Because of his size and his shyness, he will need extra time to get to know other pets and people in your household. He hasn't been around cats, so he might be a little unsure of them. Sam will be a wonderful addition to any family. For more information about SAM or other adoptable dogs, please contact Dog Services at 503-655-8628 or www.clackamas.us/dogs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chair Bernard. One of the questions at the National Association of Counties that commissioners often ask each other is, what keeps you up at night? And we had one event where we were talking about healthy counties, and there were commissioners from all over, and I really thought about the answer to that question. And the night before I had gone to bed, I had watched CNN where they had the images and reports of the detention centers at the border. And if anybody saw those images, I don't know, did anybody in the audience see? Okay, see some hands raised. They're very disturbing because people are packed into very small, cramped spaces. It looks like they're sleeping on aluminum foil, but I guess that's some sort of heat blanket or protection for them. And people look desperate. There are reports that there are, it smells terrible, people haven't had showers, that the food is compromised. People are really being detained in situations that aren't reflective of America. That, in addition to children being separated from parents, it's still occurring. It's still happening. There are people being deported now, even from our own Clackamas County, where there's the risk of children that are U.S. citizens losing their parents from our community. So those things keep me up at night. Where I get really, my brain gets really, really confused is there's all this division in our country at the national level. There's all this division, and we watch the news, and it's just so frustrating to watch the news and see all the division in our country. Yet, we just spent 4 days in Las Vegas, which I don't recommend Las Vegas in July as a place to go, 111 degrees. But we spent those days with our fellow commissioners, and we passed these resolutions here that were passed unanimously, without controversy, from our entire, how many people are at this convention? Were there 1,000 commissioners at this convention? And when you look at the issue of refugees, legal immigration, the counties are calling on the federal government, please, let's have a legal pathway to citizenship. Let's figure out how to take care of our refugees. Let's not separate children from their parents. Please, federal government, recognize that we have workforce issues, we have agricultural issues, we have construction issues, we have hospitality. We need workforce in America, and there are people that come from other countries that want to do this work, and we have employers that are desperate for these employees. As a country, red states, blue state, purple states, we're together on saying to the federal government, please, please fix this. So back in, when did we go to, was it February or March? March. We were at the legislative conference, and these resolutions were just being formulated in the works, and I was so excited. I thought, oh my gosh, if all of the counties of America will say to Congress and to the president, look, this is what you need to do to fix this, this is going to be really powerful. But both Senator Wyden and Senator Merkley and our congressional delegation really basically seemed defeated on the issue and said, the issue, the members, the president, they enjoy the fight. It's too entrenched. The fight is too important to them. So, I am not going to give up our fight, and our fight is for the people in our community. Yes, we want secure borders. Yes, we want criminals to be deported, but we want legal migration, we want support for our refugees, and we want to take care of all the children that live in America. So that's what's keeping me up at night.
Well said, Commissioner.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas.
Yes, well, I'll just give my little takeaway from the conference, but I first want to just acknowledge that the awards that we got and the accomplishments, some of which are local and were not part of the West, but first of all, our capacity issue that we got the award on for, I mean, that's been a 20-some-odd year struggle, and the fact that we broke ground on that and that project's underway is huge, and so I think the public outreach, as stated, was worth recognizing, so that's a good accomplishment. The other one being is the Carly Creek project for Wes, and that was something that several years ago, I think in my first term when we acquired that property, that was a big step towards water quality for the Clackamas River, the Willamette River, and environmentally just a fantastic project, and that is now complete, and it's great to get that award. The other one was the Veterans Village, another accomplishment, and that's very gratifying, and also to hear that from speaking to my other colleagues across the country, other county commissioners, when we talk about homelessness, it's one of the rare circumstances when you heard Vahid earlier say that we actually had a reduction in veterans homelessness. So that's a model, it's a pilot that we have here, and perhaps we can help implement that. But there's not a lot of folks around the country that I spoke to, fellow colleagues, that actually have positive numbers. The fact is that housing is in short supply or nil, right? And there's a big need for housing, and just for the people who live here. And so it's hard to fathom how we're going to build the housing for just the people we have here with the limited amount of resources we have, let alone all the people who are moving into our country every day. The other accomplishment was part of our agenda, and that is search and rescue. We got some short-term funding. Hopefully that will be successful, but that's been a long haul. I appreciate those who stuck around in the audience and those my colleagues who helped make that happen. Again, we got to find some permanent housing, a permanent place for you all to have your facilities. And I just want to put a shout out to all the volunteer hours, thousands of volunteer hours performed by our search and rescue folks, both from the volunteer side and both from the sheriff's office and the other emergency response providers who also play a role in that. But going back to the conference, it's really clear that most of the counties in the country, of the 3,069, I believe, counties are rural or predominantly rural, and that the urban counties are obviously more populous and carry a substantial amount of the population and the votes over there at NACO and also at the state associations. And so, number one, it's really fantastic, actually, and very refreshing to find folks who actually have experiences in the same struggles we have, whether it comes to budgets, whether it comes to how they battle the constant increase in cost, and yet a very limited amount of dollars, which are not keeping up with, as far as revenue streams, that are not keeping up with the cost. So it's creating a lot of pressure. And how they're approaching it. It's also nice to talk to like-minded people that have a business financial sense and how they're approaching it. Managed to talk to a couple treasurers and how they're coping with it. And there's a lot of learned lessons there that we're able to bring back. The other one, my main role there, as I sit on the National Association of Counties Transportation Committee. I'm one of the vice chairs, and it is really interesting, frankly, to hear about the different modes of transportation. We forget about rail. I think sometimes heavy rail, freight rail. We forget about the airports and the ports and some of the challenges that are being fought, whether it's from seasonal or climate change and erosion that are affecting the ports, or whatever it may be, that the challenges that are intense. But as always, at least every time I've attended the conference, there's been a focus on traffic safety or drive towards zero deaths or towards zero deaths and looking at the fatalities. And it was really kind of came home to me that while I was there getting emails about the 3 fatalities we had here in Clackamas County over this weekend. Very sad. And frankly, they're preventable. They're preventable. It's good decision-making, or frankly, it's a result of bad decision-making. And as we learn more about these particular accidents, we'll actually have a better idea what the cause is. It's too soon to estimate what that is. But it's striking because I know that we have been recognized nationally at the association before for our Drive to Zero program on zero deaths. And one death is too many. And last year, I just looked at the stats. I think we had 36 deaths in Clackamas County. So that's something that we still need to continue to work on, and it came back to a lot of people upset that live nearby, that were aware of these things, and really want to see something done. So appreciate working with the administrator and Dan Johnson, our Director of Transportation Development, on trying to maybe come up with a low-cost solution to help prevent at least some of that. The other thing that came up I thought was pretty impactful, probably more than ever, so much emphasis at the National Association on Human Trafficking. And primarily, that's youth, that's our young folks. And to see that exploitation, and we really didn't see it there, but to actually understand that, but to see how much attention was brought about on that topic this year, and to hear some of the stories and what they're coping with, it was very impactful. I was not really, I had no idea that it was so systemic across this country. I thought it was more localized in some of the urban areas, but it's more prevalent than we actually even realize. Coming home today, this morning, in preparation actually this week, coming home to our JPAC meeting this morning and the agenda, and one of the things on the agenda that was very hard, we had 2 tours. I'm going to back up. Sorry about this. I'm going to back up. Tuesday evening, we had a tour with this transportation committee in Happy Valley, and we tried to show in this tour how some of our unimproved roads, no shoulders, no bike lanes, no ped, houses going up everywhere in the Happy Valley area. Tremendous amount of growth, but no transportation facilities, no transit, nothing. And it's something that with an argument we've been making at the regional table for a long time. We hear from Portland about their issues. They have plenty of modal, they have transit, they have a number of things. But here in we don't have very much, especially in our rural, not even our rural areas, our suburban areas that are in the urban growth boundary. So one of the items this morning was initiating a study on regional congestion pricing. So what that means is that regionally they'll look at a study, about a 2-year study, and perhaps implementing a fee to drive on the very roads we have today. And the whole idea, which was discussed this morning by the staff there, who did a great job making the presentation, the goal is to change behavior so that people don't drive, so that they actually choose another mode. And in Clackamas County, there's no alternative for many thousands of our citizens have no alternative. There is no transit. There's no bike lane. There's no pedestrian way. So the statement I made this morning, which I'll make again today, is that it seems as though we're punishing the underserved. The people who don't have the facilities, which we have not been getting, I would argue, a reasonable amount of the sharing of resources in a way that helps balance or address the imbalance of who's got those facilities and who does not. So I briefly raised that on Tuesday with my 2 colleagues here that were here, Commissioner Humberson and Commissioner Bernard, and just made my statement this morning that this is something we struggle with in Clackamas County. I mean, we're not at that point in time where we have a transportation system that we can actually utilize that's not being utilized because people are choosing to drive instead. So if you want behavior change, I think we really need to provide the opportunity for those people to have an alternative. Simple as that. So I've said a lot, and actually I'm going to pass this on arts and culture to the chair.
Give it back to Martha to read.
Okay, I'll let Martha read it.
Okay.
Passing the buck.
All right, arts and culture activities in the county, the importance of being earnest, presented by Mask al Fresco, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, July 19th through 21st, 7 p.m. at our own George Rogers Park Iron Foundry in Lake Oswego. The importance of being earnest, directed by Paul Roeder, with Gilbert and Sullivan songs, slapstick antics, Victorian costumes, contemporary and social political jokes in a family-friendly outdoor setting. 63rd Westland Annual Old Time Fair, Friday, July 19th, 5 to 10 p.m., Saturday, July 20th, 6:30 to 11, and Sunday, July 21st, 6:30 a.m. to 7, Willamette Park, West Lynn. It's a signature annual event at Willamette Park by the confluence of the Tualatin and Willamette Rivers, which includes an old-time baseball game, carnival, parade, car show, musical performers, and more. And remember, Matilda is playing at the Lakewood Theater in Lake Oswego. All right, guys. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. One thing I want to kind of talk about, you mentioned somebody who had passed away with nobody to pick them up. 10 years ago, I just want you to know that this is not new for Clackamas County. Linda Fisher, who works for H3S, and I helped a vet find housing. And sadly, right after he got housing, he got cancer. And we visited him at the Veterans Hospital until he died. And then there was nobody to take his body. Now, he had family, but he refused to tell us. He was embarrassed about his history. And so the county stepped up and paid for the cremation. But because he was a vet, he probably never imagined it. The veterans, he had a vet funeral, the full thing up at the cemetery. And, you know, he was amazed. I kept his wallet, and years later, his son came to find out, because we didn't even know he had a son, came and I had his wallet in my desk. So I was able to give him his wallet and sit down and talk to him. You know, county, until I became a commissioner, I had no idea that we provided that service or that we cared that much. So this county cares. I think that's important. The other thing, like you said, Commissioner Fisher, you know, Milwaukee had a lot of Japanese. And when the Japanese internment camps, citizens of the United States, their parents, their children, all were taken away. And they were put in facilities almost as bad, not quite as bad, not as overcrowded, in Oregon, as a matter of fact. And, you know, that I said that will never happen again, and I find it very difficult as an elected official or as an individual American to figure out how we can fix it. There is one way, and that's going to come in 2020. Got to get rid of the people who hate. I also know a lot of Italian families who, I heard it today as a matter of fact, that who refused to speak Italian because they didn't want people to know that they came from Italy, because there was prejudice towards Italians back, you know, in the, and some of these Italians were born here, but their parents spoke Italian, so they refused to teach their children the language, and that's probably not dissimilar to what occurs today. One thing, and I wanted to talk about one thing. Clackamas County was very lucky, and maybe you remember this. I know you remember this, but I don't remember the years. Clackamas County Phase 1 of the Sunrise was the first new freeway built in the metro area in how many years?
Highway, 30 years.
In 30 years. And along with that highway, we built considerable infrastructure for bike and ped, which now is kind of a bridge to nowhere. So Sunrise Phase 2 will actually bring that all the way out to 172nd, and someday maybe all the way up to Highway 26. So, and that project was a tiny project, but thanks to a Christmas gift, we added a lane in each direction. And Paul's absolutely right. You know, the other thing is we are not getting younger in Clackamas County. We are not going to be hopping on our bikes from Damascus and riding to Portland. We're not going to do that. Because by the time...
Speak for yourself.
Well, I've ridden my bike out to Gresham, and I walked to Gresham.
Okay.
But the other thing that I thought was
I have done double centuries. I'm not riding a bicycle to go to work.
The other thing I wanted to talk about was a little bit about James D. Young, who showed up here today, signed the card, Damascus Mayor. I took a photo of this because I believe he's being sued for representing an elected official, appointed. Few people got together. I signed a letter in thanks to Shamia Fagan for her work on this as a supreme leader, self-appointed supreme leader of the Oregon Territory. I mean, how does one appoint themselves mayor? And I just think it's really strange. Also, his request for materials, we've offered to give it to him, not the originals, but we're happy to give him electronics. Stephen told me that. On the charter, it was turned over legally. It's just almost absurd. I'm going to start writing a book next week, and but it's a short story, hopefully. But it's really weird. We yesterday had the best quarterly management meeting we've ever had. We had a speaker in to talk. He was an author about a book. It was very funny. Too bad you guys weren't here and you couldn't go. But the title is How to Work.
It's Dealing with People You Can't Stand, How to Bring Out the Best in Others.
Yes, it was a very good book. I mean, a very good training session. We need many more of those.
I have the book, Jim. I've read it.
The other thing, about housing, one of the things we just recently did in Clackamas County is a housing needs assessment. I think that it's the first county-wide housing need assessment done in the state, maybe in the country, I don't know. But there's it's very informative. And we talked to Happy Valley in their urban renewal expansion and asked that they, in cooperation, we agreed to spend a certain percentage of urban renewal money to build affordable housing. But there is a goal, state goal, Goal 10, which requires cities to build affordable housing that is not enforced. And I think we could really the state, and as a matter of fact, the next legislature, I'd like to talk to them about enforcing Goal 10 and make sure that cities do build the housing that they need. California is suing cities now for not building houses fast enough. I heard that today. And finally, Ken and I met with the China group, the Gun, say it?
Guanyun.
County. I can't pronounce your name. I got the county. Anyway, the secretary, which is the highest representative of the county, very nice, very fun. And I would say that when Ken asked would they be interested in investing in the county, He said, on CLT plant, he said yes. Not just maybe, but yes, let's talk about it. So it was very, very good. One more thing, maybe there's two, if Mary has to tell me. But one more is that we just passed a budget and we did allocate $250,000 for small grants. The goal of small grants is to help most vulnerable families, seniors, and others meet their basic needs such as food assistance and abuse prevention. Priority will be given to projects serving the Clackamas County community prosperity collaborative area, which includes Canby, Estacada, and Milwaukee, although the efforts will be made to dispense the funds throughout the county. Applications are due August 15th at 5 p.m. To apply, fill out an online application at the website on the screen. For more information, feel free to contact Caroline Hill at 503-655-8261. And with that, if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn. Thank you.